So, I've recorded this a few times. Not only so that way I get this video right, but also because I like rambling maybe a little much, and I do that a little too often. So, let's start off with, what is the Donut SMP? The Donut SMP server is a CPVP server that focuses on a lot of just, as Dr. Donut has put it, the point of the server is to get as rich as possible and to be the richest person. So, I'm going to say that's what the server is. It is to be the richest person, whether that is buying things and selling things again to hopefully make a profit, basically becoming a middleman, or if it is to buy things to then kill people to then sell their things to make a profit that way. Any of those methods are very valid methods that people do all the time. For example, there is a thing in this game called duels, and duels is where you have a 1v1 with somebody. And in doing a 1v1, whoever wins, there is no keep inventory, gets all of the other people's stuff, which means whatever you bring in is at risk of being lost. However, if you invest in really good equipment, such as a full set of protection for netherite with blast protection leggings, then oftentimes you will be able to win, if not through skill, by spamming crystals, but we will get to that eventually. But just as a way to make money, you kill other people, and you go ahead and proceed to, well, after you kill them, and you get all of their money, or not all of their money, all of their stuff, you then can sell it for money, or you can have it as a backup game. Kill somebody else, maybe when you die, well, you still have another set that you didn't have to buy, and then you can go on to kill the next person. So, in essence, make money any way possible, and some people take that a little bit too to heart, as they will kill everybody, and I do mean everybody, by scamming them, saying, hey, come TP to me, free stuff, and they will just kill you outright. So, be careful when you TP to people. Half the time, or actually 90% of the time, it's probably a trap. I should actually discuss now what ways there is to make money. So, there is 4 different shop fronts, I guess is the best way to describe it. There is the auction, which I like to call auction house because the shortcut is AH, and I believe if you go to it in the spawn, it actually says auction house. So, I call it auction house, and that's what I'm going to call it for the rest of this, is where you have something, you say how much you're willing to sell it for, and then people will buy it for that amount. Or they will not buy it. There's 24 hours. If nobody buys it within 24 hours, then it gets returned back to you. Then there is the next thing, which is another way that you can sell things, which is slash sell. Slash sell is when you sell it to the server. Oh, I should also talk about the benefits while I'm at it. The benefit of the auction house is you can sell it for whatever price you feel like is fair. And if somebody else thinks it's fair, they will sell it right back to you. Or they will buy it right from you, which makes it pretty good for getting money, but it's not immediate. But usually you can sell things for higher or more equal prices, and people will eventually buy it, usually. The next thing that is up that you can get is slash sell. Slash sell, the benefit of slash sell is you sell it to the server. Not to the people on the server, but the server itself. And the benefit of slash sell is you can sell literally anything. It is instant, and there is no limit. And you see, that's the thing. With slash sell, you'll get the money immediately, but you'll get less money, usually, depending on the item, because you can sell anything from petals, which I believe cherry blossom petals, as you see the biome I am in currently, is one of the best ways to make money with slash sell. You could also sell things like sugarcane, bamboo, carrots, potatoes, things en masse that either people won't have enough of to be able to realistically buy, or not enough, you have too much that people would realistically buy it all, or people just straight up won't buy it at all. Like, who really wants to buy 5 million bamboo? Unless, of course, you're trying to decorate with bamboo, I guess. But point being, you can sell it to slash sell. Usually they don't sell for that much. For instance, sugarcane is like $32 a pop, while bamboo is like $4 a pop. However, the thing is bamboo, although sells for kind of cheap, grows really fast, and sugarcane, although sells for kind of a lot, grows kind of slow, which kind of balances those two out. Carrot, potato farms, they give you multiple, which kind of balances them out. So a lot of those money-making methods, if you do slash sell, are about equal. It depends more on what do you want to do in terms of them. And you can even use some of the materials yourself, or you can also try and sell some of them on auction, though usually they don't sell for that much. Usually like a stack of bamboo is like 1k, and a stack of sugarcane can be like 5k on the auction house. But it is a slightly faster way of making money than selling them on slash sell. The next way that there is to make money is orders. So orders is the opposite of auction house. So instead of you saying, I have this item, this is how much I want for it, auction house is, I want this item, this is how much I'm willing to pay for it. So usually orders are beneficial to people who are selling and people who are buying, because usually you have to wait in the auction house and wait for people to buy your stuff, especially when you sell mass quantities of like enchanted books, logs, etc. It may take a while for people to buy them all, which means you don't get your money immediately, and maybe you want that money to buy something else. So that is the downside to auction house. You don't get the money immediately. But with orders, you can give somebody something, an order, if you will. You give them, I don't know, maybe they have an order for logs. You'll get a little bit less money, typically, per log on an order. Like, for instance, logs, for the longest time on the server I was playing on, were roughly about, I want to say, 20k for a stack of logs. But then later, you could instead sell it to orders. And there is a guy who's had an order up, and he was buying logs for about 300 a log, which, if you don't know, is about 11k per stack. And thus, you can buy, or you can sell your logs immediately for about half the amount of money you get, but you get it immediately. Now, logs usually don't have too much of an issue of actually being sold on the auction house, but other things such as a massive amount of enchanted books, like, for instance, Depth Strider, Feather Falling, although might be really good, expensive books, also typically are not books that people are buying massive amounts of compared to something like Protection, because you put Protection on every piece of equipment, or every piece of armor, while you only put feather falling on your boots. You only put respiration on your helmet. You only put aqua affinity on your helmet, for instance. And a lot of people don't want to invest that much into equipment when they go into duels, just in case they do lose and die. Then they are completely out of pocket of all of that. So, yeah, that's why a lot of people won't buy, for instance, Depth Strider. Recently, I was selling it on Auction House, and the cheapest one that somebody else was selling those at was like 40,000. Oh no, 400,000. 400,000 for just one book of Depth Strider 3. Now, even before that guy was selling his, there was another guy who was selling their Depth Strider 3 books for about like 150k, I believe. Just to put it into perspective of why people wouldn't want to invest so much into things like Depth Strider 3 and other enchantment books all the time, and why people would instead do orders, and why it's harder to sell said books. But when you do orders, books usually go from, depending on the book, for instance, Mending usually sells for about 40k per thing. On the orders, there's people who are ordering it for like 30k, is like the highest one most recently. So, yeah, orders and auction house, two different things. Usually orders tries to make it as cheap as possible while still trying to get people to give them the stuff, while auction house is to make it as expensive as possible while people will still buy it. Kind of deal, if that makes sense. And then slash sell is just if you have a bunch of stuff that you want to sell that nobody wants, you could sell it to the server and at least get something. And then slash, the last one, which is slash shop. This is the one where you can buy stuff from the server directly. And no, the stuff you sell to the server does not go to where you can buy it directly from the server. There is only certain things that you can buy from the server. Those things include mostly just totems, ender chests, shulker boxes, dragon's breath, blaze rods, ender pearls, end crystals, obsidian, respawn anchors, glowstone. I think you catch the drift. It's mostly like PvP equipment, totems of undying and such, you know? But the upside of the shop is there is no limited stock. You can buy an infinite amount, and the prices never go up or down. And a lot of the things on slash shop are just things that would be otherwise too annoying to get. Like, for instance, shulker boxes, as like nobody has shulker boxes in stock. Or nobody sells really shulker boxes besides if they buy it from slash shop, because the end is fully rated, which would make shulker boxes a limited supply thing, and probably make them as much as elytras. For context, an elytras in this, because they pulled them away from having them in crates, so there was like some loot crates you could have, and the loot crates would had one of them had the ability to either give you netherite equipment, a mace, or an elytra, and that was one of the higher end crates that you could get, which you could either spend with real money, or you could do it with if you just AFK'd for long enough or won enough duels, because that's how you get shards, and you can spend those shards to unlock chests. But you see, the thing is they removed that, so you can no longer get elytras from chests, which unfortunately means that because you can't get elytras from chests anymore, you basically all elytras are limited supply, and people could keep putting Curse of Vanishing on their elytras just to spite people that try and kill them for them. And thus, elytras will go ahead and be destroyed slowly but surely, which only makes the supply smaller and smaller, if that makes sense. So elytras are, I think, around 300 million right now on the server, if I'm not incorrect. And that's even accounting for the fact that crates used to give you them, so people still had them with crates. Some people still have the crate ones. They're called prime elytras. So yeah, where was I going with this? Oh yeah. So yeah, that's I guess that's also technically another storefront other than slash shop, is the loot boxes that you get. You get to choose what you want out of the loot box, and there's a variety of items that you can get from a loot box. For instance, there's this common one that's literally called common loot box, I'm pretty sure, that you can get, as you see with the key all in the side. Every hour that goes by, you get one key. I'm not sure if there's any chance of it ever being non-common, but every single time I've gotten it, it's been a common one. I've played for a couple of hours at this point, like a few days worth of hours. So I have like hundreds, well not hundreds, but I have like 800 common keys. And what you can get is like protection 1 diamond equipment. And you can also get a sharpness 1 diamond sword. And you can also get like an efficiency 2 diamond pickaxe. So, like, mediocre equipment, but it's meant to really, like, influx how many diamond equipment you can get. So that way, diamond equipment isn't just, like, infinite amount of money. Most people end up selling a lot of their common equipment for about 50k a pop. Just to kind of put it into perspective. A diamond chest plate, 50k. Which isn't too bad. Maxed out diamond equipment, though, can be as much as, some people try and sell it for $1 million, but I'm not sure if anybody ever buys it for $1 million. Some of the highest I've seen on orders, which is people who are asking for it and you will get the money immediately, was like almost 700k for a pair of maxed out boots. Admittedly, it does have source speed 3, it had depth shredder 3, it had feather falling 4, it had thorns, it had protection 4 or blast protection 4, it was one or the other, and it also had mending and unbreaking 3. You get the gist. It had a little bit of everything all the time. But yeah, so that's roughly, I guess, the best way to describe how much stuff had. Oh, not how much stuff had, how much... Why am I blanking on it so bad? I don't know why I'm blanking on it so bad. Anyways, that gives you, like, a sense of the economy. Logs can sell for about 20k per stack, and diamond equipment was about 50k for a piece of diamond equipment with low enchants. So hopefully that gives you guys a perspective on the economy and everything. Now time to make you guys go ooh and ah, because totems cost 100 or 1,500. To put into context, you can buy about, what, 10, 11, 12, like 13, I want to say 13 to 14 totems with a stack of logs, if you sell it for 20k. End crystals, 350 a pop. They sell pretty cheaply. Obsidian, 100 a pop. Also pretty cheap, but admittedly obsidian is just a pain to mine, so I honestly don't mind that one that much. But this is where I have a big problem with the server. With how cheap all of this stuff is, as you can see, 350 per end crystal and 100 per obsidian. It literally technically cost you like $500, which is not that much, even if you use /sell. Because once again, you can sell sugarcane for like 16 a pop. How much sugarcane that is? That's like, what, like less than a stack? That's like half a stack of sugarcane. And you can buy an end crystal and an obsidian. That's pretty good, in my opinion, if you ask. A little too good. And that's where my problem really comes from this server. Kind of now that I've explained, you know, /shop, /sell, all of those ways of getting stuff. /shop is probably genuinely the most overpowered out of all of them. If you want to make money, that's /auction house. If you want to use your money, then the best way to use it is /shop. Simply because of how cheap the things are compared to how powerful they are. Just to even give more context, an end crystal, I'm pretty sure, does around 500 blast damage at direct contact, which is as much as a charged creeper, I believe. And that is enough to kill somebody in 4 diamond protection for diamond armor. So maxed out equipment usually. If you stand directly on top of an end crystal and it explodes, it will kill you instantly. Only if you have blast protection, which if you have blast protection, protection 4 on everything else, you will have a 90% damage reduction instead of an 80% damage reduction to explosions. Which will make you survive with, like, I kid you not, it's like 1 heart and a half of health if you do that. Which makes end crystals just too strong. And in the server, they're too cheap to get. Because, once again, selling a stack of logs, you can buy a bunch of totems, you can buy a bunch of obsidian, and a bunch of end crystals almost instantly. Ender pearls also are like $75 a pop. And because of how cheap that is, what you will see happen, oftentimes, if you ever do play on the server, is people will ender pearl on top of you and spam crystals like their life depends on it. Because crystals and ender pearls and totems are so cheap that they will just bank on your reaction time being slower than theirs to equip totems, and their equipment being better than yours, which means they need less totems. So people will just spam them the entire game. And before you all ask, yes, I have first-hand experience doing this way too many times. And in fact, I may or may have not raged at some point and completely lost my chat privileges. I eventually got chat banned like 3 days in because of how many cheesy, cheap people there was on Crystal. There's also people who will use invisibility, and while you're looking for them, seeing where they are, maybe looking to see if they're in their spawn, if you even go a block above them, they will TP behind you. You can't see them because they're invisible, and then they will spam in crystals until you die. Which has happened to me at least twice that I've died to them, but at least 5 guys I fought had invisibility. So, I guess that is a way to put it into perspective, because buying an invisibility pot and buying a bunch of end crystals, a bunch of totems, a bunch of obsidian, a bunch of respawn anchors, and a bunch of glowstone is cheaper than buying a full set of diamond gear and a diamond sword, which really throws off the balance of the game, as once again, it is cheaper to buy a bunch of end crystals than it is to ever buy a diamond sword. It's cheaper to buy an invis pot and a bunch of totems to keep you from dying and just spam crystals on your opponent than it is to buy a full set of diamond gear. Now, I know that he has said that he has wanted diamond equipment to be rarer, on the rarer side. He wants netherite equipment to be on the rarer side. But I feel like, even though diamond equipment and stuff, sure, you can make it on the rarer side, the problem is he's made end crystals and respawn anchors so easy to get, to the point where people don't mind spending a bunch of, not even that much money, but buying like a stack of them is low-key not even that expensive. Just buy a stack of crystals, buy a stack of obsidian, and just spam them. Buy a few totems, do it in some chainmail. It just, the way he did it throws off the entire balance of what is needed. Or throws off the entire balance, which just makes spamming crystals the best strategy in some people's opinion. And I assume that's the reason why, or that's purposeful reason, because looking at some of his gameplay, the reason why I joined this is watching shorts, but like looking at his gameplay, he was, no offense to him, he is awful at PvP. He is not the worst person I've seen play PvP, but he is, by gosh, not the best. I have seen him try to, like 1v1 Dream or something, and as you can see, end crystals from this clip at least have way too much range also. They're kind of stupid like that. But anyways, I've seen him try to do regular PvP, and he failed so badly at regular PvP that he is pretty good at end crystal PvP, and thus that's why I think he made an entire end crystal server, is just because he was good at end crystals. And, well, he's made end crystal so cheap because he wants people to end crystal. But somebody like me, at least, I don't want to end crystal. I don't really like it that much. And ultimately, there's not much else to do in the server besides try and be the richest person, do duels, or find bases. Which, to put lightly, finding bases is just the same thing as looking to be the richest person. Then try and do duels is also supposed to be a method to get, like, rich, but there's nothing really to work up to. There's no reason to get rich. I guess it is kind of fun to play with your friends, but the problem is now I'm chat banned for like 30 days. I think I still have 25 days left on my sentence at the time of this, which means I don't get to hang out and talk with friends. I don't even get to talk to my clanmates anymore. They went a little bit over the top with the chat ban. Not only is it 30 days, which I think is over the top, but they also made it where you can't type in signs. They made it where you can't type in book and quills. They made it where you can't type in an anvil. You can't even name your items. They also made it where you can't, basically any way you can think about typing, like signing a book for instance, you can't even sign a book, which is more crazy to me. You can't do anything, I do mean anything, once you get chat banned. You also, there is this simple voice chat mod that they made work for the server, but the problem is when you get chat banned, you also get voice chat banned. So right now I am like full banned right now, and it's just kind of stupid. And honestly, if I'm not even going to lie to you, so if you see this guy who's literally just like, the second you're even slightly above them, will spam end crystals. And that includes if they just hit you with a knockback sword. And people also, as you can see right there, spam crystal so much because of their massive skill issue, and only know how to spam crystals to the point where he oftentimes, I've had it like 50-50, people spam so many crystals that they blow up the loot after I die. That happens a lot because people spam crystals so much, which, just, I guess, to go on a slight side tangent just because I want to, is so unfathomably pisses me off when people just spam end crystals. If they really want a left click, right click simulator, go play the freaking Sims. I'm not here to watch you as you just jitter click both sides of your mouse and call it skill. It is not. Go touch some grass. Side tangent aside. Ultimately, I think my biggest problem with the donut SMP is not only is there's nothing really to walk up to, besides being the richest person, which I've joined the server so late that I'm probably not going to ever be the richest person, but also the fact that end crystal PvP is like really the only end game content there is, doing duels with end crystals. And fundamentally, spamming end crystals is not my idea of a fun time. And yet, that is the only thing to really do. The only other thing to do in this server is, besides end crystals, and besides to get rich, is to, like, I don't even know, like, AFK or raid bases. That's about the only other things you can do. And then, shoot, I'm trying to think. Well, there's really nothing else to do besides, I guess, get a bunch of gear and stuff, like work with villagers and such. But working with villagers is difficult, not only because it's already difficult to work with villagers, but also because what they do in this is most people will grief other people's bases all the time. All the time. If they find your base, not only will they take all of your stuff, they will also put lava, they will kill your villagers and everything like that. And if a lot of villages, people will just go to villages just to find villages and then kill all of the villagers inside the villages. That also happens all the time. So, yeah, people just kill people, kill villagers, and a lot of people in the Donut SMP are kind of toxic, if I'm not gonna lie to you. I've had a few run-ins with some toxic people that say that I suck at duels or something while I'm actively winning or something. I've had somebody that I beat in a duel call me a bitch, which is interesting, especially since what they did is they literally towered up and just sat up there, and I ender pulled and knocked them off and killed them, and they called me a beach for that, which is ironic because I'm pretty sure they're kind of the beach with their tail between their legs, hiding up top on like a sky island that they made. Anyways, I digress. I did eventually get villagers, because a lot of villagers are dead from people just raiding villages, people taking them from villages to have as their own, etc., etc. But I found 2 zombie villagers, and I cured both of them, and now I have an entire villager set up from that. And because, like I've explained, how there's not really much of an end game, what I've just been doing is I've been chilling with my clanmates. I've been making them like 4 sets of backup equipment, and I've just been giving them 4 sets of backup equipment. And that's really what I've been doing. That is like what I've had as the end game. And that basically concludes from like day 2 of playtime to day 8 of playtime is literally just concluded into I made a bunch of backup kits, I did a couple of duels, and I bred up a lot of villagers. As you can see, I have like a maxed out set of the equipment for myself and for somebody else. It doesn't have soar speed, it doesn't have swift sneak. That's mainly because swift sneak books are like $60,000. No, $600,000 per book, which is crazy. I even got like an extra backup set and an extra backup set. And wait for it, you're not going to believe this, an extra backup set. Even with blast protection and frostwalker, just in case if I wanted those. And you might have already saw the sword just a little bit. It's also maxed out, unlike the other one that I have on currently. And then all of those are maxed out. I have a maxed out bow. Literally, this is just what I've been doing as my quote-unquote endgame. It's just maxing out everything. With maxed out bows, getting maxed out equipment, and just giving it to people. Because I already have like 6 sets of maxed out equipment already in my shulker box. And the stuff I even have on now, I think I even put into my shulker box as backup equipment. So, yeah, that is what I've been doing for my end game. And this is the point in the video where I'm going to start explaining what I want added to Donut SMP. Because as much as I don't like CPVP, I think CPVP is gay. It's not about skill at all, in my opinion. It's just about reaction time, how fast can you click, how fast can you equip things like totems, how fast can you judge a scenario, you know? How fast can you right-click, left-click? It is just kind of a reaction simulator. It's kind of like one of those things where a box will turn green, red, or yellow. If it turns green, click this button. If it turns red, click this button. If it turns yellow, click this button. It's kind of like a more complicated version of that. If you see your totem pop, quickly put on another totem. That's the button you would click. If you see them teleport below you, teleport an okay amount of way with an ender pearl before they can explode a crystal on you. If you see them go above you, quickly teleport and spam crystals, you know? That is kind of what I feel like end crystal PvP really is. It's just a reaction simulator. And I don't really have that good of reaction time. Mainly because of my mental disabilities. Or I should say my mental capacity. But I digress. Let's not talk about that. Instead, let's talk about what I think they should add instead. I think there should either be a kit PvP. Kind of like PvP Legacy, where you get a kit and you PvP somebody. Because ultimately, the reason why I have to keep doing Crystal PvP, not only because it's basically the only other thing I can do besides max out equipment. Because I honestly don't care that much about being the richest person. But more specifically is Crystal PvP, or not Crystal PvP, but more specifically is because of shards. The only 2 ways to get shards in this game, and shards is what is required to get spawners. Now, I've tried to buy spawners off of people, but I keep getting scammed, and now that I'm chat banned, it makes buying spawners even more difficult. Which means I would have to go through Discord, and then there's no guarantee that I won't get scammed through Discord, for instance. So, instead, the only other way to get spawners, besides doing Crystal PvP, which you get 10 spawners for one, or I mean not 10 spawners, you get 10 shards for every 1 kill you get, which makes getting kills pretty good, as you can see in the chat right there. You get 10 shards. 10 shards is actually a decent amount. But to get like even the cheapest spawner, which is a pig spawner, you would need 25 kills, because it costs 250. With the most expensive spawner being an iron golem spawner, which costs 150. Well, I mean 1,500, which means you would need 150 kills just to get one. And you see, the only other way to get shards is to AFK. There's an AFK room where you get a shard every minute. And realistically, when I'm up and about, I want to play my game. I don't want to just AFK. So realistically, the only time you can actually AFK is when you're eating, or if you are asleep, in which case you get like a couple of shards. How many shards is it for like an overnight? Let's say you fall asleep for 8 hours, right? Let's just say you get 8 hours of sleep. 8 times 6, that's like 42. So you get like 420 shards for every night time you sleep, which means about every single day, roughly, I'm going to say, you get about 500 shards for every day, including when you eat and stuff, and when you fall asleep. So 500 shards isn't too bad per day, but the problem is it is much faster to kill people. Admittedly, that is the equivalent of killing like 50 people. But you can kill 50 people, especially if you do the whole scamming method and kill people that way. But you can kill people pretty quickly doing that, and get lots of shards. And while we're on the subject of that, I'm pretty sure my teammate I just gave a full set of equipment to in this clip is actually doing just that, killing people, probably to get shards, but probably more specifically to get their gear, especially since the person he killed was in like 4 diamond. But anyways, yes, you get shards for every kill. And whatchamacallit? Why am I blinking on it? Oh yeah, so you get 10 shards for every kill. So basically how it works out to, as long as you get a kill about every 10 minutes, let's just say, you will be making as much as you would if you were AFK. While also, if you're good at the game and you don't lose too much equipment, you will also be gaining a bunch of equipment, which is a bunch of money in game. Which, honestly, I forgot I ended the clip, but I went ahead and looked. He doesn't have that much playtime, but he has a lot of kills, and a lot of deaths, and a lot of money compared to his playtime. Which leaves me to believe that he has in fact been murdering people. Pocket a poof of fish. Anyways, that interjected a little bit, so I'll continue on. So basically, getting equipment, not equipment, but yeah, just doing crystal PvP is kind of expensive. Getting shards is kind of difficult, with either it being a skill restraint / BS restraint, in my opinion, called CPVP, or if it is the time restraint from AFK. Because AFK, you can only make so much in so much time, while if you do duels, as long as you get the kill, because duels only last 10 minutes per duel, and if you get that kill within those 10 minutes, then congrats you. In those 10 minutes doing the duel, you have been given this fantastic thing called the 10 shards, which makes it equal to AFK. So, yes. Duels are probably one of the better ways. And also, one of my other slight problems, also in this clip I'm talking about, because somebody broke in and took over my spawners, and I have no clue where they were. And then eventually they actually came off clip. I wasn't recording. I heard a potion like break sound, and they went invisible. And I saw them inside of my zombie place. And then they TP'd away, so they got away with all my spawners and stuff. Now I should say that they took the spawners before they came back, but I'm pretty sure they came back not to kill my villagers, but probably because they set a home in my village area. So that way they will be able to trade with my villagers or take anything else that I leave out. That's why the armor stand right next to me is there. Just to see if they take it, and if they do, then I know that they still have this as their home. But they did kind of run away with their tail between their legs last time, when, like I said, they used invisibility and TP'd away. So, yeah. I'm just making some extra equipment so that way I can give to another one of my teammates, because once again, that's what I've been doing in the end game. Anyways, back to my idea. So, because those are like the only two ways to really get shards, I guess you could also buy them with real money, but I'm not going to do that. So, instead, what we're going to do is, why am I blanking on it? Oh yeah, so what my suggestion is for this is, to have a separate game mode, which is PvE, where it's kind of like a dungeon crawler extractor kind of thing. And yeah, I get it, it's not like really in theme with the CPVP stuff, but it's for the people who don't want to do CPVP but also still want crystals. And what I want to say about the whole thing is the CPVP, right? I don't like CPVP, but hold on, my mind is going everywhere right now. Center, and basically, for the people who don't want to do CPVP, like myself, but want to get crystals and actually do something without having to sit in an AFK room and do absolutely jack, there is this dungeon crawler extraction thing. So you would spend something, like either money, or you can spend, I guess shards they could also do, where you have to have some shards up front or something. Or you can even use the keys, which technically is shards, but you do get some keys for free. So, what the whole keys for free thing, and there's different tiers of the dungeon depending on which key you use. For instance, if you use like an amethyst key, you'll get better loot, but maybe it'll be more difficult, you know, something like that. I'm thinking that dungeons are not just going to have mobs and loot, but maybe also like some traps too. You know, like they could have like a little parkour course over lava or something, and there would be a limited time that you can stay in the dungeon, which means doing the parkour is the fastest way to go through the dungeon. Maybe they can reduce the time with the higher difficulty, but not actually increase any of the mobs or anything. But anyways, the idea is it's basically a straight line, right? With straight line rooms. There is one room at the very end, which has like a guaranteed item, let's say from the chest that you use the key for. So, for instance, if you use an amethyst key, you would get an amethyst item, such as an amethyst pickaxe. You would get an amethyst sword, or there's no amethyst sword. You would get an amethyst pickaxe, amethyst axe, amethyst bucket, amethyst potion. You get the point. You would get something from the amethyst chest while using an amethyst key, but then there will also be some other loot you can get along the way, which would make it worth it. However, I'm thinking because the room would be at the very end, there wouldn't be that much time to loot other things if you get that item specifically. And there is a chance to get other items from the same chest or below tiers within the thing. And maybe they can also make something like, Crimson Chest or Amethyst Chest or Prime Chest also have a chance of giving you a Elytra. So that way Elytras stop being such an arm and a leg to get. It would still not be, easy, as it's only a % chance and you have to have the higher end keys to do that. But anyways, you go through the dungeon and you will actually get shards in the dungeon. It's a way to get shards. Maybe from completing a dungeon, you get like 10 shards, and dungeons maybe last like 30 minutes long. So, a strategy that you could technically do is just go in, get some loot, and get out, just to get the 10 shards and some loot. Maybe they can do it where every chest you open gives you a shard. So, if you open enough chests within a dungeon, you'll make some shards. You have 30 minutes to do it, so hopefully you'll get some stuff from that. And, of course, the higher end keys, the higher end loot, which means the less bountiful of loot that you get from opening chests at lower levels. But at the same time, you'll still get shards from it, so maybe they'll increase the shards if you use a higher end chest key. I don't know. But just some way to get some extra shards. Maybe if they do money instead of keys to be able to go into dungeons. And maybe they could also have the final room not just be like a chest with an item from that chest tier area. Maybe it could be 2 items from that chest, but then have a final boss that they have to defeat. It could be, a plugin. It could also be a wither. It could also just be a really buffed mob. Like give a wither skeleton like health boost 10, regeneration, and be able to hit you with like an instant damage 2 withering bow. Something difficult like that. It could also just be a swarm of mobs or something. And maybe there could also be little challenges where you spawn a bunch of mobs, but you get more loot because of it. Something like that. Admittedly, I am kind of a dungeon crawling person, so admittedly my idea is kind of dungeon crawly in essence. I do have like another idea, but I'll finish this one first. So yeah, you would spend something to go to a dungeon. The dungeons would then have like some sort of boss. Maybe you can even take friends with, kind of like a raid experience. Maybe they could also just do a raid itself. But anyways, you would then go through the dungeon, get some loot, get some shards. Then you would go finally to the end boss. And then if you defeat the end boss within the time, you then get something from the chest, maybe 2 things from the chest of the key that you had. But admittedly, you have to spend all of that time, which is like, admittedly, you would want to spend as close to 30 minutes as you possibly can, and you would also have to defeat the boss to be able to get all of that. Otherwise, you wouldn't. And thus, some people would still just buy the key and get the thing from the chest, because it's easier that way. It's guaranteed that way. But if you go into the dungeon crawling experience, then it's not guaranteed that you will get your item, because you would have to fight the boss. If you fight the boss and lose, then you lose everything, just like a duel. Alternatively, I think something that would be kind of fun is like a mining area. So it is an area that wouldn't have any crystal PvP. There is no placing blocks. It's just like an area where there is just like crystals to mine and stuff. Maybe they could also have like iron and diamonds and emeralds and stuff. But they will respawn every once in a while. And every single time they respawn, they will give you just a little bit of whatchamacallit. They will give you like just a little bit of something. Like you mine the diamonds, you get a couple of diamonds. You mine the emeralds, there's a couple of emeralds. And make it just like a little size world, you know, like maybe 5,000 by 5,000. And if you kill other people, then you get whatever stuff they have. So kind of like duels in that aspect. But maybe you don't always want to kill people. And then there's always the TP out that you can do, which, you know, takes 5 seconds. So hopefully nobody's chasing you while you're trying to TP out. But just like, I feel like that would help out a little bit. Not only in terms of like the diamond economy, because there's not that many diamonds in the economy at all times, because the world border is only so big. So eventually we're going to run out of diamonds as people make diamond equipment with it, as people make the like armor trims, when people make armor trims. Netherite, I'm pretty sure every last bit of netherite has already been mined out of the nether. The nether is not that big in this. It's like 7.5 thousand by 7.5 thousand big. At least that's what the menu told me. So it's not that big. Every piece of netherite has been mined out. Maybe this is a way to also give you netherite. Either one works, whether it is my first idea of the dungeon crawler experience, in which case you can have netherite in there, you could have diamonds in there, you can have iron in there. So this kind of solves two issues twofold, but then there's also, in the mining thing, like I said, there's also a way for you to mine for shards. I was thinking of like, when I was looking at the AFK room with like amethyst stuff, and I was like, oh, if I mine this, do I get more, you know, shards from this? It turns out you didn't. Maybe they could just add that to the AFK room, where you can just mine amethyst for extra shards. But then the amethyst only respawn every once in a while. I don't know. Maybe it could be like whack-a-mole, where if you mine one, it will spawn somewhere else. Mine another one, respawn somewhere else. Just some way to get more shards while actively playing, I guess, without having to do duels, is the big thing I'm asking for. So, I don't care if it's a dungeon crawling experience, kind of like a trial chamber. I honestly wouldn't mind if they literally just made a trial chamber, but you get shards for playing the trial chamber, and you get a bunch of loot from doing the trial chamber, but you have like 30 minutes to loot the trial chamber. As just like, you know, a temporary pop-up shop trial chamber. Or if it's more like Vault Hunters. Or if it's more like, I don't know, Minecraft Dungeons. I don't care that much exactly how it is, as long as there is some other way to actively get shards without having to do CPVP. Because CPVP, once again, I know you've probably heard me say this a million times, is just a reaction simulator, and I don't have good reaction speed, and I will never have good reaction speed, which makes where it's just frustrating and unfair to me, as people will just spam crystals, and there's nothing I can do about it, whether I like it or not. So, yes. I'm going to kind of just end the segment there. But yeah, if that's kind of my experience with Donut SMP, I guess, is most people are toxic. Crystal PvP is kind of toxic. It's kind of gay. And the only things to really do is to be the richest person, to raid bases, which is just like a way to be the richest person, or to do villagers and just make out maxed out things. But admittedly, that's only some people can do it. And then also just doing duels. Those are only really the things you can do. So, yeah. I'll just end it off there. But if you guys did enjoy, leave a like, maybe subscribe. I know I've recorded this a few times, and I've really cut out the rambling, believe it or not. But I definitely rambled a little bit, repeated myself a few times, but I hope you guys don't mind too much. Maybe. Well, I hope you guys all have a good day, and maybe I'll even put a clip at the end of me doing CPVP and my live reaction to it, so you guys can see how I feel. Alright, I'm going to start off this clip with, just showing off something I made that I'm hoping to sell for a little bit, because I originally was thinking, oh, I'm going to bring this into the Crystal PvP. I made 3 backup kits, I have 3 tries at this, but then I just realized, you know what, I'm more than likely just going to die with all of this on. I am better off just selling it. Yeah, that's how defeated I am to Crystal PvP, with constantly dying. So I decided to sell it for like 2 mil, and I think that's a pretty fair price. If you just look at the swords, and you just look at the bows, they are in fact worth about 1.8 mil themselves, just the bows and the swords. Which means as long as the armor is worth 2,000, which there's 3 sets of protection for diamond equipment, so I will say yes. And then the pickaxes and the axes and the shovels, or is it just pickaxes and shovels? Okay, it's just pickaxes and shovels. Which the pickaxes have efficiency 4 on them, and the swords also have fire aspect, with knockback, unbreaking, and sharpness 4. So they're actually worth more than what the auction says, of about 90k per pop. Instead, they would actually be more realistically more expensive than that. So, yeah. So 2 mil is a pretty fair price. In fact, if anything, I'm the one getting undercutted with it. Nobody's bought it yet at the time of recording this, which is a few hours after this happened. So I guess nobody saw my fantastic Omega deal yet. Unrelated note, for some reason Depth Strider is worth like 400k for some reason. At least that's what somebody was selling theirs for. So, that's also something to note. I don't know why Depth Strider is so expensive. I guess it's because nobody's selling the books on the auction house currently. So, yeah, if any of you guys play on the server, at least at the time of me recording this, they're expensive. Try and sell as many as you can. Sorry, I'm buffering real quick. What else happened? Well, I accidentally muted my mic. I did record this all. Oh yeah, I was going to show you guys a clip of me raging at Crystal. Except it doesn't have my live reaction since I accidentally muted my mic, or my mic bugged out or something. But I guess you'll see just a thing of Crystal. I'll cut right to. So I basically maxed out all of my stuff. I put this fantastic thing called Feather Falling and Protection 4 on my booties, and yeah, I have a maxed out bow, I have a somewhat maxed out sword, and I like listening to that music disc. It's probably one of my favorite music disc in this game. I also like the jukebox version, but right now the jukebox version is like 1 million on the server, so I'm going to ignore that completely. But yeah, I'm just showing off. I have my maxed out gear, even got some end crystals. Let's actually head into the match now. So the first guy was actually a draw. We both just drew, mainly because he had like an 80% win rate, and I decided not to do that. This guy was surprisingly not toxic. He said, "Good luck, have fun." Live commentary me said, "You're going to have fun with my power 5 bow." So I'm definitely maybe a little bit more toxic than this guy is. But then he also did the age-old strategy of spam crystals until your opponent is dead, except he popped his own totem while doing that. So then I just spammed him with a power 5 bow for a little bit. Spoilers, I do lose this in kind of a BS way, and you'll see what that is eventually. But I'm not gonna lie to you, this guy kinda sucks. He's pretty bad at sword PvP, and him just spamming crystals is like a handicap to him, honestly. Which, I guess, kind of goes to show the reason why I hate crystals is, well, people just spam them until you die, and hope that they have better gear, more totems or anything. And this one's kind of a little BS because he's lagging and he keeps going backwards. Right? And then he places a crystal, somehow pops it, and then teleports far enough away and back to obsidian, so that way he doesn't die. And then he's just spamming crystals on me the entire time. This is like his entire strategy. Like, even when I have a shield up, an overlay shield only has so much durability, so if he did keep spamming crystals, it would sadly work, but just the fact that you can spam crystals like this is just annoying, and this is why I brought a fully loaded bow with me. As you can see, because I can shoot his crystals and pop his totems and stuff, and I actually popped quite a few of his totems. I don't even know how he had this many. Like, I don't bring this many totems myself. And then he tried sword combat, and then he gave up on that, and then he just spammed more crystals. You can see a theme of why I don't like crystal PvP. Honestly, I should have just probably spammed crystals to him. I also should have probably brought more totems. I was just not expecting, especially a guy with 50% win rate, to have this many totems, especially since I think right now I have like a 40% win rate. But anyways, you'll see. I'm all the way over here. I have protection 4 equipment. And somehow, see what that experience is? You see how far away I was from the crystal? Like, hold on, let's roll that back. So I went ahead and rolled it back, and this time I made it half speed. I don't know how I took that much damage from the crystal. Like, half my health initially. I've realized that my shield is very low and I can't just do that. Look at how far away I was. Hold on. So I went ahead and did the clip again, except this time is a fourth of the speed instead of half the speed. So the end crystal initially didn't do like half my health, but it did pretty close to it. And you see, the thing is he was doing this the entire time, so the fact that it just started working now. Now, if you look, I'm like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7, 8 blocks away, and somehow that explosion killed me at like 8 blocks away, which is unfathomably stupid to me. And somehow he wins because of that. This is what I mean that crystals are way too much of a handicap for some of these guys, as they will literally just spam crystals, hope they have more totems, and hope they have better equipment than you. And that's not to mention I'm in protection 4 equipment. And if I even had like one more totem, I might have actually been able to beat him. Because if you did look throughout the clip, he popped at least 10 totems that I saw. He popped like almost 2 or 3 like right off the bat at the beginning, and then I just kept popping totems. It was at least 10 totems that I popped, probably more. And he still won anyways. Like, I feel like the fact that totems are so cheap and end crystals are so cheap, kind of back to one of my points of this whole thing, just ruins like the fact that they are strong, powerful tools, and removes the whole tool part of that and just says they're overpowered now. They're cheap, and they one-shot people. So why don't we just spam them? It's just stupid in my opinion. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm going to end it off here, just because I can talk about this for hours, but I probably shouldn't. Alright, bye.